Welcome to Unforeseen Fates, where every story prepare you for the unknown.
Dr. Talat Jehan Khan was not just a physician. She was the kind of doctor everyone dreams of having for their child. Originally from Pakistan, Dr. Khan came to the United States to pursue her dream of becoming a pediatrician. She worked at several community medical centers in Western Washington, including Marysville and Conroe. Known for her expert care and infectious kindness, she touched the lives of hundreds of children and their families. But it wasn't just her skill as a doctor that earned her respect. It was her unwavering commitment to the emotional and mental well-being of every child she treated. Her colleagues remember her not only as a dedicated doctor, but also as a compassionate friend. She never hesitated to extend her help, be it to a patient in need or a colleague struggling to balance their personal and professional life. Her warm smile and open arms made her a beloved figure in her community. It was no surprise that she was widely admired by parents and medical staff alike. Dr. Khan's relationship with her family was her pride. She was a devoted mother of two and had a deep faith that she often shared with others. Those who worked with her noted how she would light up when talking about her children, always putting family first despite her demanding career. Dr. Khan was the kind of person who not only healed with her medical expertise, but also healed with her compassion and ability to connect with others. In 2023, after years of making a mark in Washington, Dr. Khan decided to take a bold step. She moved to Houston, Texas, to join Texas Children's Hospital, a prestigious institution that would allow her to grow even further as a pediatrician. For her, the move to Texas wasn't just a career opportunity. It was a chance to build a new life in a sunnier, warmer climate. She dreamed of new beginnings for herself and her family. Her move, however, left a gaping hole in the hearts of her friends and colleagues in Washington. Dr. Khan had built a tight-knit community over the years, and her departure was felt deeply by everyone she left behind. But even as they mourned her absence, they knew she was destined for bigger things. In Texas, she hoped to expand her horizons, settle into a new city, and create new memories. She often spoke about how excited she was for her children to experience a new culture, new friendships, and for herself to grow in a more dynamic environment. The future seemed bright, promising, and full of potential. Her family in Pakistan was thrilled about the move, and they regularly spoke on the phone, sharing stories and dreams. On October 28, 2023, just 3 months after moving to Texas, Dr. Khan's life was tragically stolen in a horrific act of violence. She was sitting alone at a picnic table in a quiet park in Conroe, Texas, when 24-year-old Miles Joseph Friedrich approached her out of nowhere. Without warning, Friedrich stabbed her multiple times in what appeared to be an unprovoked, violent attack. Witnesses who were in the vicinity described the incident as surreal, with the assailant acting quickly and mercilessly. Dr. Khan, who had worked so tirelessly to heal others, was now the victim of a senseless act of brutality. As she bled out, her life came to a tragic and abrupt end. The community was shaken to its core. Dr. Khan was a trusted figure, a professional, a loving mother, and a friend. How could such an act of violence befall someone like her? The police immediately launched an investigation to determine the motive behind the murder. Her colleagues from Washington, who had worked alongside her for years, were deeply impacted. They had just spoken to her the week before, discussing plans to visit and reunite in the future. Now, they were left with nothing but painful memories and a deep sense of loss. The people she had helped, the children whose lives she had touched, all now felt the gaping hole she left behind. Law enforcement quickly began their investigation into Dr. Khan's murder. Given the circumstances, detectives knew they had to move fast. They began by questioning witnesses and gathering any available evidence from the scene. The randomness of the attack raised several questions. Who could have wanted to harm Dr. Khan? Was this a random act of violence, or did it have a deeper motive? As the investigation progressed, law enforcement discovered that Friedrich, the alleged murderer, had no direct connection to Dr. Khan. This fact only deepened the mystery, leaving investigators grasping for answers. Was the killing a result of personal animosity or something more sinister? Did Friedrich have any past history with Dr. Khan, or was it something else entirely? Dr. Khan's friends and colleagues also began to question the nature of her death. Was this an isolated incident, or could there be something larger at play? The idea that a beloved, compassionate professional could be the victim of such a random attack made many wonder if there was an underlying motive that had yet to be uncovered. As law enforcement delved deeper into the investigation, they began to consider the possibility of a hate crime. Dr. Khan was a Muslim woman of South Asian descent. Her background, along with the brutality of the murder, led some to believe that this might be an act of religious or racial hatred. The Council on American Islamic Relations, KIR, and the Anti-Defamation League, ADL, quickly stepped in, urging investigators to thoroughly examine whether the attack had been motivated by discrimination. While police continued to gather evidence, the questions about motive only grew. Dr. Khan had no known enemies, and her work and personal life appeared to be free of conflict. She had no direct issues with her patients, colleagues, or anyone in her community. Her murder seemed out of place, making it even more difficult for those who knew her to understand how something so horrible could happen. Detectives combed through every lead, every interaction she had, and every possible connection. Was there something about her life that had been hidden from the public eye? Or was the act entirely random, the result of a troubled individual who had targeted an innocent victim? Miles Joseph Friedrich was arrested and charged with Dr. Khan's murder. His arrest brought some relief to those who were grieving, but it did little to answer the lingering questions about why he targeted Dr. Khan. As the trial approaches, the community braces for the painful truth behind the murder to emerge. Would Friedrich be able to offer any reason for why he took the life of such a beloved figure? As law enforcement officials prepare their case, they must also contend with the broader implications of Dr. Khan's murder. The possibility that this was a hate crime or a random attack weighs heavily on everyone involved. The need for justice grows stronger with each passing day. Dr. Khan's family, her friends, her colleagues, they all demand to know why this happened and what could have been done to prevent it. Though Dr. Khan's life was tragically taken from her, her legacy endures. The impact she had on the lives of her patients and colleagues is immeasurable. She will be remembered as not only a talented pediatrician, but also a person who lived her life with compassion, faith, and integrity. Her children, her family, and her friends will continue to honor her memory, keeping her legacy alive through acts of kindness, through service to others, and by remembering the kind of woman she was, one who gave freely of herself, who believed in the power of empathy, and who found joy in helping others. Dr. Khan's story is a reminder of life's fragility and the impact one individual can have. In the face of overwhelming tragedy, we are left to ask, how can we carry forward her legacy of kindness? How can we, as a society, prevent such senseless violence from occurring again? Dr. Khan's life was a testament to what it means to be truly human, full of love, care, and unshakable faith. Dr. Melanie Kaspar was born in 1982 and had always been driven by a passion for medicine. She was an exceptional anesthesiologist, admired not only for her technical skill, but also for her deep empathy for patients. Dr. Kaspar worked at Baylor Scott and White Surgicare, North Dallas, where she was a valued member of the medical team. Her calm demeanor in the operating room made her a go-to specialist for high-stakes surgeries, and her ability to reassure patients before a procedure earned her the respect of colleagues and patients alike. Dr. Kaspar had a knack for building relationships, both with her patients and fellow staff members. Colleagues described her as a caring, reliable, and dedicated professional who consistently went above and beyond to ensure the safety and comfort of those under her care. She was loved by all who worked with her and had a bright future ahead. By 2022, Dr. Kaspar had gained a solid reputation in her field, and she was at the peak of her career. Her clinical expertise and calm under pressure had earned her accolades. and her life seemed to be full of promise. But her life would be tragically cut short by a fellow medical professional, someone she had worked with closely and trusted. Dr. Kaspar's relationship with Dr. Reynaldo Ortiz, a fellow anesthesiologist at the same hospital, was professional, at least on the surface. Ortiz, born in 1981, had built his career with much of the same dedication and commitment as Dr. Kaspar. The two worked side by side in the operating room, often on the same cases, and appeared to have a collegial, respectful working relationship. They shared the same responsibilities, and their professional rapport seemed to be without issue. However, beneath the surface of this professional relationship, there was a dark and dangerous secret brewing. The friendship between Dr. Kaspar and Dr. Ortiz seemed like the ideal professional collaboration. Yet, Ortiz harbored dangerous and malicious intentions. Behind closed doors, he had begun tampering with intravenous IV bags, injecting them with lethal substances intended to trigger life-threatening cardiac events in patients. His method of targeting patients was systematic, calculated, and sinister, yet no one suspected the trusted anesthesiologist. The turning point came during a routine surgery in early 2022. Dr. Kaspar, as part of a medical team, was involved in the administration of anesthesia for a patient. But something went terribly wrong that day. Without warning, Dr. Kaspar collapsed in the operating room, her body succumbing to an unexplained and fatal reaction. Her colleagues initially believed her death was due to an unfortunate accident, a rare complication during anesthesia, a tragedy that sometimes occurs in a profession where lives are often on the line. But when Dr. Kaspar's sudden death was further investigated, it became clear that it wasn't an accident. An autopsy and toxicology report revealed a shocking truth. Dr. Kaspar had been poisoned. Her body contained traces of succinylcholine, a powerful muscle relaxant that, in large doses, can cause paralysis and cardiac arrest. This substance, typically used during specific medical procedures, was not part of Dr. Kaspar's regular practice, and it was clear that someone had deliberately administered it. The investigation quickly focused on Dr. Reynaldo Ortiz. Security footage and hospital records revealed Ortiz's involvement in tampering with the IV bags used during surgeries. Ortiz had been accessing these bags and preparing them for use in surgeries, a process that had gone unnoticed for months. His actions were initially concealed by his professional role, and it wasn't until Dr. Kaspar's tragic death that the full extent of his betrayal became apparent. Investigators soon learned that Dr. Ortiz had been injecting patients' IV bags with succinylcholine, and it was this very drug that caused Dr. Kaspar's death. Ortiz had been tampering with the medical supplies in the hopes of causing life-threatening complications, and his plan had culminated in the murder of his own colleague. The betrayal was unimaginable. Someone who had worked alongside Dr. Kaspar, someone who had been trusted by her and their colleagues, was the one responsible for her death. As the investigation deepened, authorities discovered that Ortiz's motives were rooted in frustration and jealousy. Whether it was professional rivalry or personal resentment, the fact remained. Ortiz had killed someone he once worked with, a person he was trusted to care for, in the most heartless and calculated manner. Dr. Ortiz was arrested and charged with first-degree murder in connection with Dr. Kaspar's death. The arrest sent shockwaves through the medical community, leaving everyone stunned by the betrayal. Ortiz had been regarded as a respected anesthesiologist, and his actions made no sense to those who had worked with him closely. During the trial, the prosecution painted a damning picture of Ortiz as a man who had meticulously planned the murder. He had used his medical expertise to carry out the crime in a way that would leave no trace. But the toxicology reports revealed the fatal truth. Ortiz had used his knowledge of medical practices to carry out a murder within the very environment where he had sworn to save lives. In 2024, Dr. Reynaldo Ortiz was convicted of murder. The jury found him guilty of poisoning Dr. Kaspar and causing her tragic death. The case served as a stark reminder of how trust can be betrayed in the most unexpected ways. Even within the walls of the medical profession, where trust and professionalism are paramount, betrayal and malice can hide beneath the surface. Dr. Melanie Kaspar's death left a profound impact on those who knew her. She was not just a skilled anesthesiologist. She was a kind and compassionate person who had dedicated her life to helping others. Her colleagues, patients, and family continue to remember her not only for her medical expertise, but for the care and empathy she showed to everyone she encountered. Dr. Kaspar's memory lives on, and her tragic death has become a sobering reminder of the importance of trust, both in the workplace and in life. The case also raised critical questions about medical safety protocols, particularly in relation to tampering with medical supplies. While the betrayal that Dr. Kaspar experienced was unique, it underscored the importance of vigilance and ensuring that healthcare professionals who are entrusted with lives are held to the highest standards of integrity. Dr. Kaspar's legacy serves as a poignant example of how easily trust can be violated and how the actions of one person can cause unimaginable pain and suffering. But her story also reminds us of the impact one person can have on the lives of others, and how even after death, the memory of someone like Dr. Kaspar can continue to inspire and guide those left behind. It was a warm September evening in Dallas, Texas, as Dr. Kendra Hatcher made her way from her pediatric dentistry practice to her car. The area was a popular one for young professionals, filled with luxury apartment buildings, high-end restaurants, and an energetic nightlife. Uptown Dallas was known for its safe, vibrant environment, and residents felt comfortable walking the streets at any hour. Kendra, 35, was a respected pediatric dentist at the prestigious Highland Park office, and she was well liked by both her colleagues and patients. That evening, she was headed to a dinner date with her boyfriend, Dr. Ricardo Paniagua. She had a bright future ahead of her and was enjoying her new life in Dallas. But everything changed in a moment. As Kendra walked to her car in the parking garage, she was suddenly confronted by an attacker. Witnesses later reported hearing a single gunshot, followed by frantic screams echoing throughout the garage. Kendra was found lying lifeless on the cold concrete floor, her body showing signs of violence. The killer had shot her in cold blood, leaving her alone in a place she thought was safe. Kendra's murder initially shocked her friends, family, and co-workers, as there was no apparent reason for such an act. To those who knew her, she was a woman with a promising career, a loving boyfriend, and a warm circle of friends. But the investigation soon revealed a far darker side to the case. Dr. Ricardo Paniagua, Kendra's boyfriend, had been in a long-term relationship with Brenda Delgado, a woman he had dated for several years before ending things to pursue a new relationship with Kendra. However, Brenda had never truly let go. Her jealousy, fueled by the breakup and by her ongoing obsession with Ricardo, slowly began to consume her. The fact that Kendra was now the new woman in Ricardo's life was the spark that ignited Brenda's rage. What appeared to be an innocent love triangle quickly escalated into something far more sinister. Brenda's fixation on her ex had transformed into hatred, and she plotted to eliminate the woman who she saw as the obstacle to regaining her former lover. Brenda's jealousy festered for months, and her obsessive need for revenge grew stronger with each passing day. Brenda, deeply embittered by the breakup, decided to take matters into her own hands. Unable to accept the end of her relationship with Dr. Paniagua, she began to hatch a plan to murder Kendra. She wasn't just angry, she was consumed by a need to exact revenge. Brenda, unable to carry out the murder herself, turned to a local criminal for help. She hired two individuals, Crystal Cortez, a woman who would drive the getaway vehicle, and Michael, the man who would carry out the execution. Brenda paid them a total of $10,000, a hefty price for their part in the crime. Surveillance footage from the area captured the getaway vehicle, a Jeep Cherokee, that had been used in the murder. Kendra's killer had been methodical. They had carefully planned the attack, and the crime was carried out with cold precision. Crystal Cortez, who drove the vehicle, admitted later that she was paid $500 for her role in the scheme, though she insisted that Brenda was the mastermind. Crystal, however, was not the one who pulled the trigger. The investigation moved quickly, thanks in large part to the surveillance footage that provided a vital clue. The Jeep Cherokee caught on camera was registered to a woman who had been in a relationship with Dr. Paniagua, Brenda Delgado. When detectives confronted Brenda, she denied everything, claiming no involvement in the murder. But as the investigation deepened, a series of lies began to unravel. Witnesses and evidence came forward that painted a clear picture of Brenda's involvement. She had orchestrated the entire murder-for-hire plot, driven by her overwhelming jealousy. Brenda had become obsessed with Dr. Paniagua, and when she couldn't have him, she decided to take away the woman who did. The investigation revealed the calculated nature of the crime. Brenda's anger and jealousy weren't just fleeting emotions. They had festered into something far more dangerous. Her refusal to accept the breakup and her obsessive need for control had led her down a dark path. As the case went public, Brenda Delgado became a fugitive. She fled to Mexico, evading law enforcement and taking refuge in the country where she thought she could escape justice. The FBI placed Brenda on their 10 most wanted list, and an international manhunt began. It would take a year before the authorities tracked her down. Brenda was finally apprehended in Mexico in 2016. It was a complex and lengthy extradition process, but eventually she was brought back to the United States to face trial for her role in Kendra's murder. The pursuit of Brenda Delgado was a reminder of the lengths to which law enforcement would go to bring justice to the victim's family. Brenda's escape might have delayed her capture, but it didn't stop the investigation. She was eventually brought back to face the consequences of her actions. Brenda's trial took place in 2017, and the courtroom was filled with tension as Kendra's family took the stand to speak about the devastating impact of the loss of their daughter, sister, and friend. In her testimony, Kendra's mother spoke of the vibrant young woman her daughter had been, a loving, caring person who had a whole life ahead of her. The court heard of Brenda's unrelenting jealousy and how she allowed her anger to consume her to the point of murder. It was a chilling reminder of the destructive power of envy. In the end, Brenda was found guilty of capital murder. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The case was a tragic one, but it highlighted how unchecked jealousy and a lack of emotional control can destroy lives. Kendra Hatcher's life was stolen by a woman whose inability to cope with rejection led to irreversible consequences. Kendra Hatcher's tragic end serves as a stark reminder of how destructive love and jealousy can become when they spiral out of control. Kendra's murder was not the result of a random act of violence, but rather the culmination of obsessive feelings of jealousy and revenge. The tragedy of Kendra's death and the loss felt by her family is immeasurable. Her story serves as a warning. Sometimes the people closest to us, the people we trust the most, can turn against us in the most unexpected and violent ways. And when jealousy and obsession are allowed to take root, the consequences can be deadly. Brenda Delgado's fate, sentenced to life in prison, is a fitting end to a story marked by obsession, jealousy, and betrayal. Though Brenda's actions caused irreparable damage, the resolution of the case at least brought some measure of justice to Kendra's grieving family, who can now begin the difficult process of healing. Dr. Joseph Sonnier was a respected pathologist living in Lubbock, Texas. He was a man of wealth and success, well known for his work and his charitable efforts. In his 50s, Dr. Sonnier had lived a full life, having married his high school sweetheart and fathered 2 children. However, his marriage ended after 27 years, with his wife leaving him for another man. Despite the painful breakup, Dr. Sonnier moved on, focusing on his work, his children, and rebuilding his life. A man who had everything, Joseph had become a well-known figure in the community. He was a man about town, attending various social events, enjoying his independence, and making his mark in Lubbock's social scene. But little did he know that a new chapter of his life would be his last. In 2007, Dr. Sonnier relocated from Dallas to Lubbock, where he found himself enjoying his new life in the city. On the surface, everything seemed to be going well. In 2011, Dr. Sonnier took up dancing, something he had never considered before, but the idea of meeting new people, especially women, was too appealing. It was during a dance class in July 2011 that he met Rochelle Shatina, a former NFL cheerleader for the Kansas City Chiefs. Rochelle was older than Joseph, but the two of them immediately hit it off. They became inseparable, traveling together, even making a trip to Paris for Rochelle's 50th birthday. They shared a bond that seemed to grow stronger with each passing day. Despite Joseph's reluctance to remarry, the couple seemed to be happy. However, underneath the surface, a storm was brewing, a storm driven by jealousy and obsession. While Joseph and Rochelle's relationship appeared strong, there was history between Rochelle and Dr. Thomas Michael Dixon, a prominent plastic surgeon in Amarillo, Texas. Rochelle and Dixon had a passionate affair that ultimately ended when Dixon's wife discovered the relationship and divorced him. However, Dixon was not over Rochelle. After their breakup, he continued to pursue her, sending texts and making frequent calls, desperate to get back together. Rochelle, however, had moved on, her focus now on her relationship with Joseph. But Dixon wasn't willing to let go, and his obsession with Rochelle turned darker. By 2012, Joseph and Rochelle's seemingly perfect relationship was tainted by Dixon's presence, and what would follow was a tragedy fueled by obsession, jealousy, and betrayal. On July 11, 2012, tragedy struck. Dr. Joseph Sonnier was found dead in his home in Lubbock, Texas, by landscapers who had arrived to work on the property. He had been brutally shot and stabbed multiple times. The house showed signs of forced entry, window broken, furniture overturned, but nothing of value was taken, except for Joseph's life. At the scene, investigators found a homemade silencer and a shell casing. The murder had been meticulously planned, with the killer using a silencer to make the crime less noticeable. A Gatorade bottle with a hole in the bottom was also found, which indicated the possible use of a makeshift silencer, though it likely would have been ineffective. The investigation pointed to a love triangle involving Rochelle Shatina and her obsessive ex-lover, Dr. Thomas Michael Dixon. Dixon's obsession with Rochelle had escalated, and he wasn't about to let another man take his place in her life. Joseph was the perfect target. As detectives began questioning people close to Joseph, they learned about his tumultuous relationship with Rochelle and the ongoing issues with Dr. Dixon. Rochelle, understandably devastated by Joseph's death, was questioned by the police. She expressed disbelief at the notion that anyone would want to hurt him, calling Joseph the love of her life. But as the investigation continued, the details became clear. The police were able to track down Dr. Dixon's involvement in the crime through his relationship with Rochelle and his obsessive behavior. Detectives learned that Dixon had hired a man named David Neal Shepard to murder Joseph. The motive was clear. Dixon couldn't accept that Rochelle had moved on, and his jealousy and anger led him to hire a hitman to eliminate his romantic rival. The investigation intensified, leading to the arrest of David Neal Shepard, the hitman who carried out the murder. Shepard, a disgraced individual with a criminal history, had been hired by Dixon to kill Joseph Sonnier. Shepard had been paid a substantial amount to carry out the job, but after the murder, he quickly became a person of interest. The case took a dramatic turn when Shepard confessed to the crime, naming Dr. Dixon as the mastermind behind it. The investigation uncovered the entire plot, with Shepard admitting that Dixon had been his accomplice. The two men had planned the murder for weeks, with Dixon providing the gun and orchestrating the murder from a distance. In 2015, Dr. Thomas Michael Dixon went to trial for his role in the murder of Dr. Joseph Sonnier. During the trial, the prosecution presented evidence of Dixon's obsession with Rochelle and his involvement in orchestrating the murder. Text messages between Dixon and Shepard were presented, showing Dixon's involvement and urging Shepard to finish the job. In a shocking twist, Dixon attempted to claim that Shepard had acted alone, but the evidence was overwhelming. Dixon was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to life in prison. Meanwhile, David Shepard was also convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. The two men would spend the rest of their lives behind bars for a crime born out of jealousy, obsession, and a desire for control. Dr. Joseph Sonnier's death left a profound impact on his family, friends, and the medical community. He had been a well-respected doctor, a devoted father, and a man with a promising future. His untimely death serves as a painful reminder of the destructive power of jealousy and the tragic consequences of letting obsession take hold. While Rochelle Shatina continued to mourn the loss of Joseph, her connection to the case would forever haunt her. The consequences of the love triangle were dire, and it cost the life of an innocent man. The case also highlighted the dangerous potential of unchecked obsession, especially when it involves people in positions of power and influence. Though Joseph's life was tragically cut short, his memory lives on in the fight for justice and the lessons learned from this heart-wrenching crime. The case serves as a reminder that even in seemingly perfect lives, the darkest secrets can lurk beneath the surface. Dr. Francisco Jusino was born in 1952 in Puerto Rico, where he grew up with a strong sense of family values and community responsibility. He decided to pursue medicine at a young age, fueled by his desire to help those in need. His journey led him to the mainland U.S. in the early 1980s, where he settled in Houston, Texas. He established himself as a well-respected physician, offering primary care to many in the city's Hispanic community. He was known for his ability to connect with patients, listening intently and offering comfort, which made him a pillar in the local healthcare community. Dr. Jusino wasn't just a skilled physician. He was a person who genuinely cared for his patients' well-being. His reputation spread quickly across Houston, and his practice flourished. He was well regarded for his professionalism and his ability to make each patient feel valued, often going above and beyond to ensure they received the best care. His patients trusted him implicitly, which was why his sudden and violent murder would shock so many in the area. Dr. Jusino's personal life was just as admired as his professional life. He had a wife, Carmen, and 2 children whom he adored. Despite his busy career, he always made time for family. They would often spend weekends hiking, fishing, or attending local events, bonding as a family. His strong connection to his family and his involvement in community events created a positive and supportive environment around him. He was also deeply embedded in the fabric of his neighborhood. Outside of his medical practice, Dr. Jusino frequently volunteered at local health fairs, providing free checkups and educational seminars to improve the overall well-being of his community. His patients saw him as more than just their doctor. He was their confidant, their friend, and a trusted figure in their lives. The events leading to Dr. Jusino's murder began on July 23, 1996. On that night, he was found dead in his home under suspicious circumstances. His body was discovered by his wife, Carmen, who had returned home after running errands. She found the front door unlocked and immediately felt something was wrong. Inside, Dr. Jusino was found with multiple gunshot wounds. There was no sign of a struggle, no forced entry, and no obvious motive, such as robbery. The scene was unsettling and didn't fit the usual profile of a home invasion gone wrong. Investigators noted that the precision of the attack suggested the perpetrator was familiar with Dr. Jusino's routines. Despite the apparent calmness of the crime scene, there was an undeniable sense that this was a targeted hit rather than a random act of violence. The questions surrounding the motive were numerous, and authorities quickly began to consider all possibilities. As the investigation unfolded, authorities started uncovering details that suggested Dr. Jusino's professional life might have placed him in dangerous proximity to individuals involved in illicit activities. The doctor had treated several patients who were later found to have connections to drug trafficking organizations, particularly those linked to Mexican cartels. His clinic, while legitimate, had unknowingly become a gathering point for individuals with shady backgrounds. There were whispers in the community that Dr. Jusino might have become entangled in something darker than he ever intended. Authorities began to question whether his medical knowledge had made him a target for people who wanted to conceal their criminal activities, possibly in exchange for large sums of money. One of the most perplexing aspects was that some of these patients had been involved in serious crimes but had used their status as patients to avoid suspicion. Some investigators speculated that Dr. Jusino might have been privy to confidential information, or even to individuals whose activities could have made him a liability. It was also suggested that he could have unknowingly treated cartel members, or provided medical assistance in a way that compromised him. Still, there were no concrete leads that directly linked Dr. Jusino to any criminal network, but the theory of cartel involvement loomed large as the investigation continued. As months passed, the case became more perplexing. While authorities had identified potential suspects, none of them were ever officially charged, and the investigation hit a dead end. The lack of physical evidence or witnesses to testify about the murder left detectives with only circumstantial evidence. With no clear suspect and no firm motive, the case grew colder with each passing year. Over time, new theories emerged, but none could provide a definitive answer to the question of why Dr. Jusino was murdered. Was it the result of a personal vendetta, a botched robbery, or was it truly connected to the dangerous world of organized crime? The possibility of a cartel connection was never officially confirmed, but rumors persisted. Some believed that Dr. Jusino had become a casualty of the dangerous game played by criminals in Houston, and that he was silenced to protect certain secrets. Despite numerous attempts by law enforcement to solve the case, the answers remained elusive. Dr. Jusino's family continued to seek closure, but the lack of progress in the investigation left them in a perpetual state of uncertainty and grief. As the years passed, Dr. Jusino's case faded into the background, but the search for justice never stopped. The case remained a mystery, and the possibility of cartel involvement added a chilling layer to an already tragic event. His family never gave up hope, continuing to pursue leads and demand justice, but as the years passed, the chances of solving the case seemed to diminish. In 2004, the case was reopened by a new detective team, but once again, no breakthrough was found. Some suggested that certain elements of the crime might have been deliberately concealed, either by powerful forces or because the killers were never apprehended. The mystery of Dr. Jusino's murder continued to haunt Houston, and his family still clings to the hope that the truth will eventually come to light. His legacy as a compassionate and caring physician remains intact, but the shadow of his violent death continues to loom over his memory. Whether his murder was truly connected to the criminal underworld remains a question that has yet to be answered. As the case remains unsolved, Dr. Jusino's murder serves as a poignant reminder of the risks even the most seemingly innocent lives face when they intersect with dangerous forces beyond their control. As we close the chapter on these chilling true crime stories, we are left to reflect on the haunting realities that can hide behind the seemingly ordinary lives of those we trust. From love triangles that spiral into deadly obsessions to colleagues turning into cold-blooded killers, the medical field, the place where we place our faith in healing, has too often been stained with the blood of betrayal and violence. Dr. Talat Jehan Khan, a beloved pediatrician whose life was cruelly taken by a senseless act of violence. Was it an act of hate, or simply a deranged individual with a distorted sense of reality? The mystery surrounding her death lingers, but one thing remains certain. Dr. Khan's legacy as a compassionate healer will forever live on in the hearts of those she helped. Dr. Melanie Kaspar, poisoned by the very hands of a colleague she trusted. In a profession where life and death are intertwined with trust, the act of betraying that bond in such a sinister way is a chilling reminder of the dangers that lurk in the places we feel safest. Dr. Kaspar's death was not just an act of murder. It was an act of calculated cruelty that still leaves us questioning the depths of human betrayal. Dr. Kendra Hatcher, murdered by the very hands of a jealous ex-girlfriend, whose envy led her to orchestrate a cold-blooded plot. Kendra's life, so full of promise and kindness, was tragically snatched away, leaving behind a broken family, a shattered community, and a reminder of how far some will go for love and revenge. Dr. Joseph Sonnier, a life taken by the twisted hands of jealousy, where a love triangle fueled by rage and revenge ended in murder. But even in the face of such heartbreak, justice found its way, albeit through a long and painful journey. Dr. Francisco Jusino, a doctor whose tragic end remains one of the most haunting unsolved mysteries. Did cartel involvement play a role in his death, or was it something more sinister? His story is one that reminds us of the unspoken dangers that can lie hidden in plain sight, waiting to unravel a life in an instant. These are not just stories, they are chilling lessons that shake us to the core, reminding us that trust can be fleeting, and danger can strike when we least expect it. As we remember these doctors, let us also honor their legacies and the lives they touched, and reflect on the fragility of life and the complexities of human nature. If these stories have left you unsettled, intrigued, or even questioning the very nature of trust, be sure to subscribe to Unforeseen Fates. Every week, we bring you more shocking, real-life stories that challenge our perceptions of justice, morality, and the human condition. What happens when the very people we trust with our lives become the perpetrators of unimaginable acts? This is the question that keeps us coming back for more, because sometimes the most unsettling crimes are the ones that remain hidden, even in plain sight. If you want to dive deeper into these and other haunting tales, hit the bell icon, like the video, and subscribe to stay informed on all our latest content. Until next time, remember, the truth is often far darker than we can imagine, and sometimes it's only by digging deeper that we truly uncover the shadows of justice.